What's up, YouTube? I'm Mike, and today we're talking about the very unfortunate news that's come out in the media a few days ago about Melissa Bumstead's arrest for receiving steroids in the mail. If you haven't already heard, Melissa Bumstead is Chris Bumstead's sister who married Ian, and they have a house in Florida. And apparently, according to the arrest affidavit, there was some quantity of steroids that were mailed from Canada to the United States, and that's what we're talking about today. So there's plenty of people talking about this. I'm certainly no expert on the matter, but the reason that I decided to make this video is because of the fact that my channel pretty much talks about steroid use, cycles, what you can expect from this cycle, what you can expect from that cycle. I get a lot of guys in the comments that are like, oh, what's up with this Bob does steroid shit? Why don't you just talk about your own personal experiences? Well, who's this Bob guy? Like, you don't have anything to worry about. Clearly we do. You know, people seem to have forgotten that steroids are illegal in America. And while, you know, the majority of the people in this country may view it as a really minor thing, like obviously taking a little testosterone or a little Deca is not even in the same fucking universe as smoking crack or injecting heroin, you still can get in serious legal trouble. That's why when I made the video about Michael Hearn and I was explaining, you know, my opinion, like, why would anyone admit that they're using illegal anabolics? You know, guys want to hammer Matt Does Fitness and Mike Thurston and all these guys, and they want to point the finger, and why won't you just come out and be honest about your steroid use? If you live in a country where this kind of shit can happen to you, what do you have to gain from talking about it? People told me I need to stop making these videos. Well, the good news is there's nothing illegal about making videos about steroids. I can talk about cycles, I can talk about steroids, I can talk about past experiences. The legality is caught up in the actual possession of them. And one of the things that I find remarkable in reading through the data in the arrest affidavit is the lengths that the police were willing to go to in this case to prove the possession charge. They didn't just have like somebody that tipped them off and then they got a search warrant and they came in with like a dog or something sniffing around looking for illicit drugs. They actually seized the package, put a fucking tracking device inside of it, put UV activated powder inside it, then did a controlled delivery to the house. The tracking device was designed to alert them the second the package was opened. So they hand off the package. Within 15 minutes, the package is opened. This information gets sent to the police department. They come to the door with a search warrant. They come in, they detain everyone who was in the house, which was Ian, Chris, Melissa, and fuck, I can't remember Chris's wife's name. Irrelevant, right? Like, they detain everyone. And the reason they pinned it on Melissa was because there was powder on the inside of the envelope or the box that you can see under UV light, and so they found the powder on her hands and her hands alone. If they'd all been like passing the shit around, they'd all be locked up right now. Or, well, she's not still locked up, but they all would have been charged. So they found testosterone, masteron, stanzolol, oxandrolone. There's 6 different anabolics that they found, and they charged her with 6 individual felony charges for each of the anabolics. I went through the list that has the weights of the anabolics discovered, and if those weights include the packaging or like the glass vials that the liquids would have been in, we're not talking about a ton of gear here. This is not like a massive order, bulk raws with intent to distribute. We're talking about, if this really was Chris and Ian's supply, potentially to get them to the Olympia, this looks like very reasonable personal use amount of compounds, which of course in Canada is not even illegal. It's not even illegal for them to be in possession in Canada. And so they train for the Olympia, they come to America, allegedly, they come to America, and now they've got, what is it, 5 weeks, 21 days? I don't remember the length of time. I think 21 days now until the Olympia. And so, obviously, these compounds are a requirement to the sport they're in. And then boom, Melissa gets busted for having received the package. And it's a fucking travesty that shit like this goes on. I mean, you've got in Oregon State now, you can just walk around with crack cocaine and heroin and there's no penalty for it. And then here's some professional bodybuilders who are going to get pinched over personal possession amount of anabolic steroids. Like, this shit has got to come to an end, but it highlights the reason for this video. There is no advantage to talking to people about your illicit drug use. Whatever you may think about anabolics, however ridiculous this may seem, this fucking destroys people's lives. And while in this case, I suspect the penalty is going to be relatively minor, I can tell you here in Texas, she'd be looking at felony charges, which would carry, I think, a maximum sentence for a first-time offense of 1 year and a $1,000 fine, unless, of course, they decided to stack up 6 charges and then run them consecutively, which I think would be going well outside the sentencing guidelines. So in the grand scheme of things, we're talking about a relatively petty crime, but it's going to negatively affect these people's lives in a major fucking way. And you could argue that it's so petty, why would you waste taxpayer dollars going to all of the trouble of setting up this massive, like, sting/bust operation for personal use of anabolics for 2 bodybuilders? It's just a total waste of money. You would imagine, you would hope, that they thought they were on to some massive operation. There was a guy's YouTube video, I can't remember the channel, I'll link it in my description. He was talking about it. He's the one that I saw the affidavit from, and was arguing that maybe, you know, they thought they were busting a massive, like, steroid production ring, and there was going to be money laundering and manufacturing and distribution, and it was like this whole thing. Hopefully we don't find out in the days and weeks to come that that was in fact what was going on. But it just, again, you know, it highlights the need to be careful about what you're talking about, who you talk to, who you share information with. The gym that I personally work out in Texas is a very conservative gym, and some large cross-section of the members are first responders, firefighters, police officers, sheriffs, detectives, like, you name it. And so there's a lot of guys that are mingling in this thing, and we've got competitive athletes, and we've got coaches, and we've got guys that are monsters in this gym. And so you feel somewhat at ease discussing certain topics, but you just never know the agenda someone might have, or the axe that they're willing to grind, or what. And if you've got, regardless, family, if you're a single guy, it's just not worth it to have your life potentially destroyed and irrevocably changed over something like this. So, use this as an example. Guys, be careful if you're using anabolics. Do not import that shit from overseas. Obviously, that's a substantial risk. The whole thing is a risk. There's just no safe way to do this. And that is the unfortunate fact about the world we live in. But there is no evidence that that is going to change. Certainly probably not in Texas or Florida. You know, like, here in Texas and Florida, we're lucky in a sense that our government bodies are kind of protecting our rights as far as like the vaccine mandates and the mask mandates, but then they are very harsh on crime. And so, you know, you could go to Oregon and get away with it, but that's a whole other host of problems. So anyway, I don't know. What do you guys think in the comment section below? Do you think that this is an isolated event? Do you think that do you think it's suspicious that, you know, here we are weeks away from the Olympia, and then they go after one of the biggest names in the industry? Do you think he was stitched off, set up? Do you think, what do you think? Any experiences you've had with this? Would love to hear those in the comment section below. And everybody out there, just use this as a reminder to be careful. Running your mouth about these types of things is not worth it. Don't destroy your lives over it. So, again, follow me on Instagram for more daily lunacy, and we'll see you in the next one.